What's up, slackers? Welcome to Book Cheats. Today we'll be talking about Of Mice and Men, Chapter 3. The chapter starts out with the guys coming back from baling barley all day. George is thanking Slim for letting Lennie have one of his pups. Slim says he's never seen anybody work like Lennie, although Slim says that Lennie's a little bit cuckoo. George, feeling like a parent, begins to defend Lennie. He then realizes that he's being too informal with his new boss. He stops and changes the subject to how they met. George says that Lennie's aunt took Lennie in when he was a child. When his Aunt Clara died, George and Lennie began working together, and he says that they just grew on each other. George says that he used to always make fun of Lennie because he's so dumb, but something happened that made him stop. He says one time they were by a river and he told Lennie to jump in. Lennie, doing everything that George says, jumps in even though he didn't know how to swim. Lennie almost drowns and George pulls him out, and Lennie just thanked him for saving his life. He decided from then on out he wouldn't pick on Lennie anymore. As George is telling Slim how George and Lennie met, he slips out that Lennie got them in trouble at their last ranch. He stops to make sure that Slim isn't going to tell anybody. He then tells Slim about how Lennie tried to touch the woman's dress, and when she freaked out, he held on and she started screaming. George had to go over there and start punching him in the face till he let go. Well, this lady went off to the police and told them that she got raped. He tells Slim that the police and the ranch workers were going to kill Lennie, but that they escaped in time. Lennie comes into the room with his jean jacket over the front of his body, covering something over his stomach. George automatically knows that Lennie is trying to bring his new puppy into bed to sleep with him so he can pet it. George tells Lennie to put the pup back in the barn or else he's going to make Slim take his puppy back. Lennie reluctantly takes his dog back to the barn, and Slim mentions that Lennie's like a child. George mentions that Lennie's probably going to try to sleep next to the dogs because he loves his pup so much. Slim says it's okay, he won't hurt anybody. Candy comes into the room and lays on his bunk with his dog next to him. Carlson comes into the room and smells Candy's dog and starts complaining about his dog.
What in the hell is that smell?
Carlson asks Candy why he doesn't put his dog down yet. Candy says that he's just been with him since he's been a pup, and that he's been such a good dog. Carlson is adamant about Candy getting rid of his dog and keeps hassling him about killing his dog. Carlson even offers to do the job himself. Candy says that he doesn't want his dog to feel any pain when it dies. Carlson tells Candy that his dog won't feel anything. A random worker walks into the room, interrupting Candy's and Carlson's conversation. He goes up to Slim and asks Slim to read an article out of a magazine. This guy's name is Whit. Whit has Slim read this letter in a magazine, and everyone's confused why. He then says that it's from somebody who used to work on the ranch. Everybody gets excited and looks at the magazine. Carlson isn't distracted by this. He has one thing on his mind: get rid of Candy's nasty dog. He then blurts out that he can kill Candy's dog right now. Candy tries anything he can to avoid the conversation or avoid the idea of killing his dog. Candy keeps coming up with excuses why he shouldn't kill his dog right now. Carlson pulls out his pistol and says that he can do it right now. Candy looks around to see if anybody will defend him, but to no avail. He then sadly agrees to let Carlson shoot his dog. After he agrees, he immediately turns on his bunk and looks up at the ceiling. Carlson comes over and leashes up Candy's dog. As the men wait for the gunshot to fire, they try to distract themselves. Most of the time, though, it's just short conversation with an awkward silence. Slim mentions to Candy that he'll give him one of the new pups. The whole time, Candy says nothing but continues to look at the ceiling. After some time passes, they finally hear the gunshot. Everybody turns to Candy to see his reaction. Candy remains looking at the ceiling and then turns towards the wall. After this happens, you get to know Whit a little better. Whit and George are playing cards, and Whit is a super friendly guy. He invites George to come to Susie's place that weekend with the guys. Susie's place is this sort of saloon where there's women and this really funny lady named Susie where they can get drinks and food. George says that he'll go, but he doesn't want to spend too much money. Susie also has 5 daughters. Lennie and Carlson come back into the bunkhouse. Carlson starts cleaning his gun, and as soon as Candy hears a click from the gun, he turns to look at what weapon killed his dog, and then he turns back towards the wall. Curley busts into the room and asks if anybody has seen his wife. Nobody has seen her. Curley suspiciously asks where Slim is. As Curley heads out, Whit and Carlson follow after him to see the fight throw down. Now it's just George, Lennie, and Candy in the room. Lennie mentions that Slim came to the barn and told him not to pet the puppies so much or else he'd kill them. George and Lennie forget that Candy's in the room and start talking about their ranch. George goes into details about the ranch and how it's only for $600, it's 10 acres, and the reason why it's so cheap is because the man's wife needs a surgery and they're trying to get rid of it. He tells Lennie about the rabbit patch and how they're gonna have all these vegetables and live off the land. They don't realize it, but Candy's actually listening in. Candy turns and asks if this place is real. Both George and Lennie jump like they were caught doing something bad. Candy says he isn't much good, but that he has $350 saved up and that he wants to join in on their ranch and that he could tend to the chickens. George and Lennie only have $10 to their name. George is suspicious at first, but gets excited at the idea of getting the ranch sooner than they thought possible. Candy says that he's getting old and that he'll get fired soon and he doesn't have any place to go. George agrees that they'll let Candy in on the plan. All three men sit around baffled that the idea is so close to a reality. George says that he'll write the old couple right now and send them $100 in the mail. They hear the guys start to come back, and Candy says depressingly that he should have shot his own dog, that he shouldn't have let a stranger do it. The guys come into the room, and Slim and Curley are arguing. Slim tells Curley that he's tired of him asking about his wife all day, and that he needs to take care of his own wife. Carlson, egging on the fight, tells Curley that his wife's a tramp. Curley asks Carlson if he wants to step outside. The whole gang jumps on the teasing rally after Curley, and Curley turns towards Lennie and sees him smiling on the bed. Curley is just thinking about the ranch and his rabbits in his mind, but Curley assumes that he's laughing at him. Curley asks Lennie what he's smiling about. Lennie just turns and says, huh? But more retard-like. Curley explodes and starts beating the tar out of Lennie. Lennie just stands there scared and not knowing what to do. George starts yelling at Lennie to fight back. When the message gets across to Lennie, Lennie grabs one of Curley's hands as he's swinging and squeezes. Curley starts screaming and flopping around like a fish. And George yells at Lennie to stop. George has to punch Lennie in the face till he lets go. When Lennie finally lets go, it looks like every bone in Curley's hand is broken. Slim says they need to take Curley to the hospital. George asks if they're going to be fired. Slim reassures him that they won't be. Slim goes over to Curley and tells him to tell everyone that his hand got caught in a machine, or else he'll tell everybody what really happened, and everybody will laugh at him. Curley agrees that he's not going to say anything. Slim comments that he never wants to make Lennie mad. Lennie keeps repeating that he didn't want any trouble. George reassures Lennie that he didn't do anything wrong. George tells Lennie to clean up, and as Lennie's walking away, to make sure that he wasn't in trouble, he asks George if he can still take care of the rabbits. George reassures him that he was fine, and Lennie heads to get cleaned off. Thank you so much for watching Book Cheats. Please like and subscribe. Leave a question from your homework, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. Have a great day, and slack on. Slim tells Curry that he... When Lennie finally lets go, it looks like every bone in Curley's body is broken. Body?